wild bobcat finds a dying hiker collapsed on a remote mountain trail. Every wildlife expert said what happened next was impossible. This 47-pound predator did something that defied every law of nature we thought we knew. Marcus Chen had less than 3 hours to live. No cell service, no rescue coming, internal bleeding slowly shutting down his organs. Then this wild bobcat appeared. What it did next didn't just save a life. It rewrote everything scientists believed about animal behavior. This story will shatter your understanding of the natural world. Make sure you're subscribed because what you're about to witness has never been documented before. Scientists are still studying the footage to understand how this was even possible. The Eagle Cap Wilderness stretches across northeastern Oregon like a frozen cathedral of granite and pine, where morning mist clings to ancient peaks and the air carries a crystalline bite that burns your lungs. At 7,000 feet, the scent of Douglas fir mingles with the metallic tang of snow-fed streams cascading down weathered stone faces. Marcus Chen breathes in this mountain air for what might be the last time. The 34-year-old software engineer from Portland sits propped against a moss-covered boulder, his hiking pack scattered beside him, ribs fractured, internal bleeding painting dark stains across his shirt. 3 days into a planned 5-day solo journey, Marcus finds himself trapped in a ravine 15 feet below the main trail. The fall happened suddenly. What appeared to be solid earth was actually a thin layer of moss concealing a hidden drop-off carved by decades of seasonal runoff. His body hit the rocks with a sickening crack, his phone shattering against granite, emergency beacon destroyed in the impact. But this hike was never just about conquering another trail. Every step carries the weight of a promise made 6 months too late, to a man who taught him that mountains don't care about your fears, only your preparation. His father, David Chen, had been an outdoorsman who could read weather patterns in cloud formations and build fires in driving rain using nothing but what the forest provided. David worked as an aerospace engineer for 30 years, but his soul lived in places like this. He'd promised Marcus they would tackle Eagle Cap together someday, when life slowed down enough for a proper father-son adventure. They planned routes over dinner, studied maps across kitchen tables, debated hiking boots with scholarly intensity. Cancer doesn't wait for convenient timing. The diagnosis came in February. Aggressive, inoperable. "Promise me something, son," David whispered during one of their last coherent conversations. "Don't let fear keep you from the mountains. They're where we remember who we really are." Now Marcus lies bleeding, his father's vintage compass clutched in his left hand, David's leather journal tucked inside his jacket. The compass, carried on every major hike for 4 decades, still points true north, even as Marcus's world spins into chaos. The journal contains 40 years of trail notes and philosophical musings about wilderness that Marcus never took time to read while his father was alive. The Eagle Cap Wilderness doesn't negotiate with human plans. This landscape, shaped by volcanic activity and glacial movement, can shift from serene to deadly within minutes. Temperature swings of 40 degrees between day and night are common. Wildlife moves through this terrain according to patterns established long before humans ever set foot here. Mountain bobcats present the most fascinating behavioral puzzle in this ecosystem. Unlike their social cousin the lynx, bobcats are solitary creatures maintaining territories spanning several square miles. Dr. Sarah Martinez, a wildlife biologist with Oregon Fish and Wildlife, has spent 15 years studying bobcat behavior in the Cascades. People have romanticized notions that wild animals possessed some innate desire to help humans. Dr. Martinez explains from her field station. Reality is that predators assess every situation through survival lens: threat, prey, competition, or avoidance. There are 0 documented cases of bobcats providing assistance to injured humans. Yet something different moves through the wilderness this morning. A mature female bobcat, 8 years old and 35 pounds, makes her way along hunting trails she's followed for 3 years. Her tufted ears process layers of sound human ears cannot detect. Rustling mammals, bird warning calls, distant branch cracks signaling larger predator movement. She smells Marcus before seeing him. Human blood, fear pheromones, industrial fabric carry on air currents telling a story she's never encountered. Not sharp, aggressive scent of healthy humans representing threats, but something weaker, vulnerable, mixed with emotional distress, her predator instincts recognize as different. Previous rescue attempts in this section have ended in failure more often than success. Steep drop-offs, unstable slopes, and dense canopy make helicopter extraction nearly impossible. Ground teams require 6 to 8 hours reaching remote locations, even knowing exactly where to look. Marcus's emergency beacon malfunctioned during the fall, internal antenna damaged against granite rocks. His shattered phone eliminates calling for help or GPS tracking. The nearest rescue station sits 50 miles away in Joseph, Oregon, where volunteer coordinator Janet Morrison manages 20 wilderness specialists, but they can't respond to emergencies they don't know exist. Time is always the enemy in wilderness medicine, explains Dr. Michael Rodriguez, an emergency physician volunteering with Mountain Rescue. Internal bleeding, hypothermia, dehydration compound exponentially in remote environments. Patients who might survive days in hospitals might have only hours in wilderness. Marcus feels strength ebbing with each breath. Chest pain has evolved from sharp stabs to deeper, ominous ache suggesting serious internal damage. His vision blurs periodically, early shock symptoms from first aid courses taken at his father's insistence. He knows exactly what's happening, but possesses no ability to treat injuries requiring surgical intervention. Temperature begins its predictable mountain descent as shadows lengthen. Pleasant hiking weather now threatens deadly combination of injury and exposure. Marcus's compromised body lacks resources to maintain core temperature as granite walls radiate away accumulated heat. Something moves in forest above him. Not random wind rustling, but purposeful movement suggesting intelligence, curiosity, perhaps something more. The female bobcat has observed Marcus for nearly an hour, maintaining position 30 feet away, using natural cover while processing this unprecedented situation. Her behavioral patterns, evolved over thousands of years, tell her to leave. Every instinct screams that injured humans represent complications threatening her territory and survival. Yet she remains, watching, listening, processing sensory information that doesn't fit established threat assessment patterns. What happens next will challenge everything wildlife biologists understand about predator behavior and territorial instincts. Marcus's life hangs in balance, measured in hours, while above him, a creature that has never shown interest in human welfare makes a decision that will rewrite wilderness survival rules. 6 hours have passed since Marcus Chen fell into this granite tomb, and the mountain reveals its true nature. Temperature drops with merciless precision, falling from comfortable 68 degrees to bone-chilling 42, as shadows swallow the ravine. Marcus drifts between consciousness and something darker, his mind floating on waves of pain his body no longer manages. The metallic taste of blood fills his mouth with each shallow breath. He knows with clinical detachment that his internal bleeding has worsened. His father's compass grows heavy in his weakening grip, brass cold against his palm like a promise he might never fulfill. That's when the rustling begins. Not gentle wind through pine needles or random chipmunks scurrying, but something deliberate, calculated, predatory. Marcus forces his blurring vision to focus 20 feet away, where branches part like theater curtains revealing golden eyes that catch filtered light. The female bobcat emerges with liquid mercury grace, 47 pounds of pure predatory efficiency. Her tawny coat, marked with dark rosettes perfect for dappled forest camouflage, ripples over muscles designed for explosive power. Those distinctive tufted ears swivel forward, focused entirely on Marcus with intensity that freezes his blood. Every wilderness survival course floods back in adrenaline-fueled clarity. Play dead. Avoid eye contact. Don't move suddenly. Pray that death from internal injuries comes before death from predation. His breathing becomes shallow, not from medical trauma, but from primal terror of becoming prey. The bobcat moves with deliberate purpose, each padded step silent against granite and moss. She approaches within 10 feet, then 8, then 5, golden eyes never leaving Marcus's face. Her black-tipped tail twitches with what behaviorists would recognize as heightened decision-making, but Marcus only sees prelude to violent death. But something unprecedented happens where predator meets helpless prey. Instead of explosive charge and killing bite evolution programmed into every fiber, the bobcat stops at 3 feet and begins circling. Not tight, aggressive predator preparation, but something slower, methodical, almost investigative. Dr. Sarah Martinez would later spend months analyzing trail camera footage, searching for precedent, explaining what happens next. She finds none. In 40 years of documented bobcat-human interactions, every encounter follows identical pattern: assessment, avoidance, departure. What Marcus experiences breaks every predator handbook rule. The bobcat lowers her head, bringing sensitive nose within inches of Marcus's bloodied shirt. She inhales deeply, processing scent information telling stories human senses cannot comprehend. Internal bleeding smell, trauma and shock chemical signatures, fear pheromones mixed with something speaking to dormant neural pathways. Instead of predicted quick retreat, she lies down 6 feet away, belly pressed against cool granite, eyes never leaving his face. Then she vocalizes, producing low, rumbling sounds wildlife experts struggle to categorize. Not aggressive territorial growls or spring mating calls, but something entirely new, almost like conversation. Marcus realizes with shock, cutting through pain and hypothermia, that she's not hunting him. The positioning is wrong, body language completely contrary to predatory behavior. She's doing something unnamed in wildlife biology textbooks, challenging fundamental assumptions about wild predator-vulnerable human relationships. Night falls across Eagle Cap Wilderness with closing coffin finality. Temperature plummets toward freezing, transforming Marcus's medical emergency into hypothermia race, that silent killer shutting down organ systems with methodical efficiency. His body begins desperate blood shunting, pulling circulation from extremities to protect vital organs. The bobcat watches this physiological crisis unfold with senses detecting changes requiring sophisticated human equipment to monitor. She observes breathing pattern shifts, skin color changes as circulation compromises, involuntary muscle contractions signaling severe hypothermia onset. Then she does something puzzling wildlife behaviorists for decades. She rises from 6 feet away and approaches Marcus directly, moving with purposeful intent, suggesting decision-making processes no one thought possible in solitary predators. She positions herself against his left side where broken ribs create most pain, settling her 47-pound body against his torso. The warmth hits Marcus like electrical shock. Bobcat normal body temperature runs 101 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit, and this female's winter coat has reached peak density for mountain weather. She becomes living heating pad, fur providing insulation, while elevated metabolism generates thermal energy slowing his hypothermic descent. But impossible behavior doesn't end with shared body heat. Twice during the longest night, the bobcat rises and disappears into darkness, leaving Marcus convinced natural instincts have finally overridden aberrant programming. Both times, hypothermia begins relentless advance, and both times she returns. First time, she carries freshly killed rabbit, still warm from recent death. She places it beside Marcus's head with gentle precision of mother feeding vulnerable young, then resumes position against his side. Second time, near dawn when his body temperature drops dangerously, she returns with ground squirrel positioned near his hands where scent might stimulate appetite reflexes. Wildlife nutritionist Dr. James Fletcher later explains this behavior's significance. Predators operate on energy conservation principles, making every calorie precious during winter months. For bobcats to kill prey, then offer it to another species represents complete evolutionary programming, reversal prioritizing individual survival above all considerations. Throughout this impossible night, Marcus experiences clarity moments between pain waves and hypothermic confusion. He begins understanding this creature has made choices defying natural law, decisions prioritizing his survival over her well-being. Warmth she provides costs her metabolic energy reserves. Prey she offers represents food she needs for winter survival. As dawn light filters through forest canopy, Marcus finds himself changed beyond physical injuries. The man who fell, completing solo hikes honoring father's memory, carrying guilt about conversations never had, now lies kept alive by wild predators' impossible compassion. Beginning to understand something his father tried teaching about connections between all living things. The bobcat's golden eyes meet his as morning approaches, and Marcus sees intelligence challenging everything he thought he knew about human-animal consciousness boundaries. She chose staying when instincts demanded departure, shared body heat when conservation required selfishness, offered food when survival depends on every available calorie. But growing light bringing hope also brings renewed urgency. Marcus's internal bleeding stabilized at levels that won't kill immediately, but won't allow long-term survival. His rescue window narrows with each hour, and the bobcat's unprecedented behavior, while keeping him alive through critical night, cannot address underlying medical crisis requiring surgical intervention. Stakes have evolved beyond simple survival. This is no longer just about whether Marcus lives or dies, but what it means when natural world responds to human suffering with compassion. Science insists is impossible. The relationship forming between man and predator challenges fundamental assumptions about consciousness, empathy, and invisible bonds connecting species separated by evolutionary divergence. The bobcat has rewritten wilderness survival rules, but cannot rewrite human physiology laws. Marcus needs help only other humans can provide, and that help remains 50 miles away, unaware that unprecedented rescue partnership has formed, where dying man and wild predator discovered something transforming them both. Dawn breaks cold and merciless across the eagle-capped wilderness. Marcus Chen's breath comes in shallow, ragged whispers against the frosted air. His pulse flutters like a dying bird beneath skin that's turned the color of winter clouds. The internal bleeding has accelerated through the night, and his body fights a losing battle against organ failure. Every heartbeat grows weaker. Every breath might be his last. But the bobcat remains. She's been pressed against his side for 8 hours straight, her golden fur now matted with dew and Marcus's dried blood. Her amber eyes haven't closed once during the endless night. She's maintained perfect contact, her 104-degree body temperature the only thing standing between Marcus and hypothermic death. Her steady heartbeat thrums against his ribs like a primitive drum keeping time with life itself. Then something shifts. The bobcat's entire body goes rigid. Her ears snap forward, rotating like satellite dishes picking up a signal only she can hear. A low growl rumbles deep in her chest, but this isn't aggression. This is something else entirely. Something desperate. She lifts her massive head and stares into the distance with an intensity that cuts through the morning mist. Marcus's eyes flutter open just enough to see her transformation. She's no longer the quiet guardian who's been warming his dying body. She's become something electric, something focused with laser precision on a mission he can't understand. Her muscles coil beneath her spotted coat. Her tail twitches with anticipation. And then she does something that rewrites everything we thought we knew about wild animals. She opens her mouth and releases a sound that shouldn't exist. It starts low, almost subsonic, vibrating through Marcus's chest cavity like an earthquake. But this isn't any bobcat vocalization documented in 40 years of wildlife research. The pitch climbs higher, modulating in patterns that seem deliberate, structured, almost like language. She pauses, tilts her head as if listening for a response from the empty wilderness, then calls again with even more urgency. The sound echoes off canyon walls and bounces through pine groves, carrying further than any normal bobcat call should travel. She's broadcasting something into the void, and her entire body trembles with the effort. Her vocal cords strain against sounds they were never designed to make. Marcus feels something breaking open inside his chest, and it's not just his failing organs. Through his delirium, he understands she's calling for help, not for herself, for him. A wild predator is crying out to save the life of her natural prey. But what happens next defies every law of animal behavior ever written. She stops calling and looks directly into Marcus's glazed eyes. For one impossible moment, there's something almost human in her gaze. Recognition, decision, resolve. Then she does what every wildlife expert said was impossible. She leaves him. The warmth vanishes from Marcus's side as she rises and pads deliberately toward the main trail. But she doesn't run. She doesn't hunt. Instead, she begins creating the most sophisticated communication system ever observed in wild animals. Her claws rake deep gouges into tree bark at precise intervals. She spreads territorial scent markings in patterns that form clear directional arrows. She drags fallen branches across the trail in configurations that could only be intentional. She's building a map, a trail of breadcrumbs leading from the main hiking path directly to Marcus's hidden ravine. Every mark is deliberate. Every sign is placed with surgical precision. 3 miles away, a day hiking group hears her impossible calls echoing through the wilderness. Sarah, their experienced guide, stops mid-step and holds up her hand for silence. In 25 years of backcountry guiding, she's never heard vocalizations like these. The pitch is wrong. The rhythm is wrong. Everything about these sounds violates what she knows about mountain wildlife. But somehow, impossibly, they feel like a message. The group follows the strange calling, and within minutes they discover the trail of markings. Fresh claw marks gouged into bark. Scent markers placed like highway signs. Deliberate disruptions in the natural landscape, all pointing in the same direction. Sarah's pulse quickens as she realizes what she's seeing. This wild animal is communicating with them. They follow the impossible trail for 40 minutes. The bobcat's calls growing stronger with each step, until they reach the edge of a ravine most hikers would never notice. Below them, they see something that stops their hearts. A man lies motionless against dark rocks, his body broken and still. Beside him, maintaining perfect protective position, is a wild bobcat who looks up at them with eyes that seem to say, "I've been waiting for you." Marcus Chen opens his eyes to see human faces peering down at him from above. The rescue he'd given up hope for materializes like a miracle. But as consciousness fades and emergency voices echo around him, he feels one thing more clearly than his own pain. The weight of a wild animal's love pressed against his side, steady and warm and absolutely impossible. Everything changes in that moment, for Marcus, for the rescuers. For our understanding of what animals are capable of when someone they've never met is dying alone in the wilderness. Some bonds transcend species. Some love defies logic. And sometimes, when all hope is lost, heroes appear in forms we never expected. The helicopter blades cut through mountain air like thunder, carrying Marcus toward a miracle he doesn't yet understand. In the trauma bay, doctors work with surgical precision, while his body temperature reads a devastating 89 degrees. But here's what stops them cold. His core never dropped below the fatal threshold. Something kept him warm through those endless hours of darkness. Dr. Elena Rodriguez studies the medical charts with growing amazement. The bobcat's body heat created a microclimate that prevented hypothermia death. Her strategic positioning across his torso stemmed internal bleeding that would have killed him within hours. The fresh rabbit meat she delivered contained proteins and salts that kept his brain functioning when his body should have shut down completely. Every veterinarian and wildlife expert who examines this case reaches the same impossible conclusion. This bobcat performed complex medical triage that saved a human life. Marcus awakens 3 days later to a world transformed. His recovery room overflows with flowers, cards, and cameras. News outlets worldwide broadcast the story of the bobcat who became a guardian angel. But Marcus feels only one overwhelming emotion: gratitude so profound it changes everything about how he sees the natural world. He survives surgery after surgery, his body healing while his perspective undergoes something deeper than physical recovery. Dr. Sarah Martinez launches the Guardian Project 6 months later, studying interspecies empathy with Marcus as her primary case study. Her research reveals what indigenous peoples have known for centuries. Some animals possess helper instincts that transcend species barriers. The bobcat, now nicknamed Guardian by local wildlife officials, continues patrolling that exact area. Hikers report protective encounters with the same distinctive female bobcat who seems drawn to human distress. Trail cameras capture her investigating camping areas, following solo hikers at safe distances, and consistently returning to the rescue site. Marcus transforms from weekend warrior to wildlife advocate, speaking at conservation conferences across the country. His message resonates because it carries the weight of lived experience. The natural world isn't humanity's adversary, but its unlikely ally. He partners with local indigenous tribes who share stories of similar animal guardianship, weaving together ancient wisdom with modern scientific discovery. Every speaking engagement begins with the same powerful truth: he owes his life to a creature most people fear. The rescue site becomes a pilgrimage destination for Marcus. Every few months, he returns with experienced guides, carrying his new emergency beacon and deeper respect for mountain wilderness. The exact location where Guardian found him now holds spiritual significance. He places offerings of fresh salmon at the base of the boulder where she warmed his dying body, understanding that gratitude sometimes requires ritual. Trail cameras reveal Guardian's continued presence in the area. She investigates each offering Marcus leaves, her behavior suggesting recognition rather than simple curiosity. Wildlife biologists document her unique territorial patterns. She maintains a hunting range that encompasses multiple popular hiking trails, positioning herself where she can monitor human activity. Her protective instincts seem hardwired toward helping vulnerable mammals, regardless of species. Marcus's family relationships deepen through shared trauma and miracle. His daughter Lucy accompanies him on return visits, learning wilderness skills while absorbing lessons about interconnectedness with nature. His ex-wife Sarah finds common ground in their shared gratitude for his survival, their conversations now centered on something larger than past grievances. The near loss creates space for healing human connections, alongside the animal bond that saved him. The story spreads through social media and documentary features, inspiring wildlife conservation efforts across North America. Guardian becomes a symbol for rethinking human-animal relationships, her image appearing on conservation fundraising campaigns. Local communities report increased respect for bobcat populations, with fewer hunting permits requested and more habitat protection initiatives launched. Research emerging from the Guardian Project reveals that empathetic behavior in wild animals may be more common than previously understood. Dr. Martinez documents cases worldwide of interspecies rescue behavior, suggesting that Marcus and Guardian represent a phenomenon evolution has quietly been developing for millennia. The scientific implications challenge fundamental assumptions about animal cognition and emotional capacity. Today, Marcus carries Guardian's lessons into every wilderness adventure. He moves through natural spaces with heightened awareness, understanding that survival depends on recognizing the intelligence and compassion of non-human life. His emergency kit includes supplies for injured animals alongside human safety gear, acknowledging that rescue relationships flow in both directions. The bond between Marcus and Guardian transcends their physical encounter, becoming a living example of what's possible when humans approach nature with humility rather than dominance. Some connections echo through mountains for lifetimes. Some gratitude transforms entire worldviews. Some rescues prove that the wild world has been waiting to save us all along, if we're wise enough to let it. This story proves that compassion isn't just human. Empathy isn't just civilized. In the wildest places, among the most unlikely creatures, we find reflections of our own capacity for selfless love. Guardian the bobcat didn't save Marcus because she was trained to, or because she expected reward. She saved him because, in that moment, helping mattered more than survival. The next time you think you're alone in your struggles, remember Guardian. The next time you wonder if kindness matters, remember Marcus. Help can come from the most unexpected places, and heroes exist in forms we never expect. Your compassion, like Guardian's, might be the difference between someone's darkest moment and their second chance. If this story moved you, subscribe to join our community of people who believe in the extraordinary power of unexpected heroes. Share this video with someone who needs to believe in miracles today. And tell us in the comments, what's your most incredible story of help coming from an unexpected source? Next week, we're sharing another impossible rescue that will restore your faith in the connections that bind all living things. Hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss it.